In the vast, uncharted reaches of the galaxy, where stars burned like forgotten promises and nebulae swirled in colors no human eye had evolved to fully appreciate, a lone ship streaked through the void. It was the kind of vessel that spoke of hard-won battles and solitary journeys, the Eclipse Runner, piloted by Kai, a battle-hardened warrior from Earth's distant colonies. Kai wasn't the type to seek glory. He was a survivor, etched with scars from skirmishes against pirate fleets and rogue AI swarms. His body was a map of resilience, muscles honed from years of zero-gravity training and hand-to-hand combat, his eyes a piercing blue that had stared down death more times than he cared to count. But on this fateful run, smuggling rare artifacts through the neutral zones, fate, or perhaps the capricious gods of the cosmos, had other plans. The ship shuddered violently as alarms blared, red lights flashing across the console like arterial blood. Hull breach imminent, the AI voice intoned, calm as ever, even as the engines screamed in protest. Kai gripped the controls, sweat beading on his forehead, muscles tensing under his worn flight suit. An asteroid field. No, something worse, a gravitational anomaly, pulling him off course toward a shimmering rift in space. He fought the yoke, but it was no use. The Eclipse Runner plummeted through the tier, emerging on the other side into a storm of emerald auroras and jagged lightning that danced across an alien sky. The crash was brutal. Metal twisted and groaned as the ship plowed into the dense forest of an unknown world, trees like colossal spines snapping under the impact. Kai blacked out for what felt like seconds, but when he came to, smoke filled the cockpit, and the air hummed with an unfamiliar energy. He kicked open the hatch, staggering out into a landscape that defied imagination. Towering flora glowed with bioluminescent veins, and the air carried the scent of wild musk and ozone. This wasn't just any planet, it was Lunara, a world whispered about in spacer legends, a realm ruled by the Lupari, a fierce, wolf-like alien pack whose society was built on primal bonds and unyielding loyalty. Kai's survival instincts kicked in immediately. He grabbed his plasma rifle and med kit, scanning the horizon for threats. The crash site was a smoking crater, but he was alive, unbroken. As he moved through the underbrush, the ground trembled faintly, like the heartbeat of the planet itself. Then, he heard it, the low, guttural growls echoing through the mist. Eyes gleamed in the shadows, golden and piercing, belonging to creatures that walked on two legs but moved with the grace of predators on four. The Lupari humanoid wolves, their fur sleek and silver, bodies lithe and powerful, clad in armor woven from iridescent scales and vines. They were legends made flesh, a pack that had evolved to dominate their world through sheer ferocity and unbreakable unity. At the forefront was a figure that stopped Kai in his tracks. She was no ordinary Lupari, her presence commanded the air around her. Lyra, the Wolf Princess, heir to the throne of Lunara. Her hair cascaded like fresh snow, white and silken, framing a face of ethereal beauty, pale skin that seemed to glow under the dual moons, eyes like molten amber that held the wild fire of her ancestors. Small, pointed ears peeked through her mane, elf-like in their delicacy, adding an almost mythical allure to her wolfish heritage. She wore a garment that blended regality with raw sensuality, a flowing cloak of midnight fabric that hugged her curvaceous form, slits revealing glimpses of toned legs and a body that moved with hypnotic grace. Gold accents adorned her neck and wrists, symbols of her royal bloodline, but there was a vulnerability in her stance now, a slight stagger that betrayed injury. The pack encircled Kai, snarls rippling through the air like thunder. They had been ambushed moments before his arrival, raiders from a rival clan, the shadowed Dravex, who sought to destabilize Lunara's rule. Lyra had taken a poison bolt to her side during the fray, the toxin spreading like wildfire through her veins. Her guards, fierce warriors with fangs bared and claws extended, formed a protective ring around her, but their eyes darted warily to the stranger who had fallen from the sky. Kai raised his hands slowly, his rifle slung over his shoulder. "I'm not here to fight," he said, his voice steady, carrying the gravel of a man who'd talked his way out of worse. But the Lupari didn't understand his words. Their language was a symphony of growls and howls, laced with pheromones that conveyed intent. One of the larger males lunged forward, testing him, but Lyra raised a hand, her amber eyes locking onto Kai's blue ones. There was a spark there, an inexplicable pull. As if the universe had aligned their paths for this moment. The princess collapsed then, her body racked with shivers as the poison took hold. Her pack howled in despair, their loyalty absolute but their medicine primitive against this engineered venom. Kai's med scanner beeped urgently as he approached, ignoring the threatening postures. He knelt beside her, his fingers brushing her feverish skin soft yet resilient, like velvet over steel. The scan revealed the toxin, a rare neural disruptor, fatal without a compatible antidote. But something caught his eye. Her blood type, or the Lupari equivalent, was a near match to his own rare O-negative, a universal donor back on Earth. In a galaxy where species rarely intermixed, this was a miracle, or perhaps destiny. Without hesitation, Ki rolled up his sleeve, attaching the transfusion kit from his med pack. "This might save you," he murmured, though she couldn't understand. As his blood flowed into her veins, a warmth spread through both of them, a connection forging in the crimson exchange. Lyra's eyes fluttered open, meeting his again, and in that gaze, something shifted. The pack watched in awe as her color returned, the poison retreating like shadows before dawn. Whispers rippled among them. This human, this outsider, had given of himself to save their princess. As Lyra rose, steadier now, she placed a hand on Kai's chest, her touch electric. The pack bowed their heads, a ritual of gratitude and oath. From that moment, Kai was no longer a stranger, he was bound to them by blood, their protector and kin. But little did he know, this act of compassion would ignite a firestorm of interstellar threats, drawing him into a web of loyalty, desire and war that would test the limits of what it meant to be human among the stars. The forest seemed to hold its breath as the pack integrated Kai into their fold. They moved as one, guiding him through hidden paths toward their citadel, a sprawling fortress carved into the heart of a mountain that pulsed with Lunara's ancient energy. Lyra walked beside him, her steps syncing with his in an unspoken rhythm. She glanced at him often, her amber eyes curious, probing. Though language barriers loomed, the bond from the transfusion created a bridge of faint empathy, whispers of emotion that transcended words. Kai felt it too, a pull toward her that was more than admiration, it was primal, magnetic. As they journeyed, the pack shared their kills, fresh game roasted over bioluminescent fires, flavors exotic and invigorating. Kai ate sparingly at first, wary, but the meat invigorated him, mending minor wounds from the crash. Lyra offered him a choice cut, her fingers lingering on his as she passed it. The touch sent a jolt through him, her skin warm against the cool night air. She smiled then, a flash of sharp canines that was both intimidating and alluring, her white hair catching the moonlight like a halo. That night, under a canopy of glowing vines, the pack settled. Kai lay on a bed of soft moss, staring at the unfamiliar constellations. Lyra approached silently, her form silhouetted against the fire. She sat beside him, close enough that he could feel the heat radiating from her body. Without words, she traced a finger along the scar on his arm from an old battle, her touch light, exploratory. Kai's breath caught. This was no mere gratitude. Her eyes held a hunger, a curiosity about this human who had saved her life. He turned to her, his hand gently cupping her cheek. Her skin was flawless, pale as porcelain, and her small, pointed ears twitched at his touch, sensitive and endearing. Lyra leaned in, her lips brushing his in a tentative kiss that ignited like a supernova. It was electric, her taste wild and sweet, like forbidden fruit from a distant world. Kai pulled her closer, his hands exploring the curves of her body beneath the elegant fabric of her cloak. She responded with a soft growl, a sound that vibrated through him, stirring desires he hadn't felt in years. Their bodies entwined under the stars, the pack's distant howls a symphony to their union. Lyra's movements were fluid, predatory yet tender, her G letter 1EE3I C letter 1EA3M form pressing against him in ways that blurred the lines between species. Kai lost himself in the moment, the transfusion's bond amplifying every sensation, every whisper of pleasure. It was more than physical, it was a merging of souls, human resilience meeting alien passion in a dance as old as the cosmos. But as dawn broke, shadows stirred on the horizon. Scouts returned with news of Dravex raiders massing, drawn by the crash's energy signature. The pack readied for battle, and Kai, now blood-bound, stood at Lyra's side. His human ingenuity tactics from Earth's wars would prove invaluable, but the threats were just beginning. Whispers among the pack spoke of ancient prophecies, a star-fallen savior who would claim the heart of the princess and lead them to glory. Kai, unaware, had stepped into a role that would redefine his destiny. The journey to the citadel grew tense, the air thick with anticipation. Lyra's presence was a constant distraction, her glances laden with unspoken promises. Kai found himself drawn to her not just physically, but emotionally, the way she led her pack with quiet authority, her laughter like a melody when she played with the younger Lupari. He taught her fragments of his language through gestures and shared moments, and she reciprocated with howls that conveyed stories of Lunara's history. One evening, as they camped near a crystalline lake, Lyra pulled him aside. The water reflected the moons, casting her in an ethereal light. She shed her cloak, revealing more of her alluring form, curves that begged to be explored, skin glowing softly. Kai's heart raced as she drew him into the water, the liquid warm and tingling against their skin. They swam together, bodies brushing in the current, laughter turning to sighs as desire took hold again. Under the surface, their connection deepened, the bond allowing him to sense her emotions: gratitude, curiosity, and a budding affection that mirrored his own. Yet, danger lurked. A scout's warning howl pierced the night, Dravex assassins infiltrating the perimeter. Kai grabbed his rifle, Lyra her claws, and the pack mobilized. The battle was fierce, bolts of energy clashing with primal roars. Kai's shots were precise, felling 2 attackers before they could close in. Lyra fought like a tempest, her white hair whipping as she tore through foes. Together, they were unstoppable, their synergy born from the blood they shared. As the skirmish ended, Lyra turned to him, bloodied but triumphant, pulling him into a fierce embrace. The pack cheered, their loyalty to Kai solidifying. But in the quiet aftermath, as they tended wounds, Kai realized this was no fleeting adventure. He was falling for her, this wolf princess from the stars, and the galaxy's perils would test if their bond could endure. The citadel loomed ahead, a bastion of stone and light, but the path was fraught. Whispers of betrayal stirred within the pack, some elders questioned the human's place. Lyra defended him fiercely, her voice a commanding growl that brooked no argument. Kai, in turn, used his tech to repair their defenses, earning respect through actions. Their nights grew more intimate, stolen moments where Lyra's touch ignited passions that burned brighter than Lunara's suns. She explored his body with wonder, her fingers tracing tattoos from his warrior days, while he marveled at her grace, the way her ears perked at his whispers. Their love was a fusion of worlds, human tenderness meeting Lupari intensity, creating something transcendent. But as they neared home, a greater threat emerged. The Dravex warlord, covetous of Lyra's power, launched a full assault. The pack braced for war, and Kai, the star-fallen warrior, prepared to prove that humanity's compassion could indeed conquer empires. The shadows of the citadel's spires stretched long across the misty valleys as the pack pressed onward, the air growing thicker with the scent of impending storm. Kai could feel the weight of eyes upon him, not just from the Lupari warriors flanking their march, but from the unseen watchers in the undergrowth, whispers of wind carrying hints of danger. The Dravex warlord's assault wasn't a distant rumor anymore. Scouts had returned with tales of shadowed figures amassing at the borders, their ships cloaked in nebula veils, engines humming like predatory growls. Lyra walked closer to him now, her hand occasionally brushing his, a silent reassurance amid the rising tension. But beneath that touch lay a current of something deeper, more urgent, a desire that simmered like the planet's geothermal vents, ready to erupt. As night fell, the pack made camp in a secluded glen ringed by bioluminescent thorns, a natural barrier that glowed faintly against the encroaching darkness. The elders' murmurs had grown louder during the day's trek, their grizzled muzzles twitching with suspicion toward this human interloper. "He is not of the blood," one had snarled earlier, only for Lyra to silence him with a glare that could freeze stars. Kai ignored the undercurrents, focusing instead on fortifying their position. He rigged motion sensors from his salvaged ship parts, their soft beeps integrating with the pack's instinctive alerts. Yet, as the fires crackled and the moons rose high, his thoughts drifted to her. Lyra found him alone by a trickling stream, away from the main camp where the pack shared stories in rhythmic howls. She moved with that effortless predatory grace, her white hair cascading over shoulders bared by the slits in her regal cloak. The fabric clung to her curves in the humid air, accentuating the swell of her hips and the gentle rise of her chest, a garment that was both armor and invitation, silken threads woven with Lunara's precious metals, hugging her pale skin like a lover's caress. Her small, pointed ears flicked toward the sounds of the night, alert yet softened by the way she looked at him. Amber eyes gleamed with a mix of gratitude and hunger, reflecting the firelight in a way that made Kai's pulse quicken. "You sense it too," she murmured, her voice a melodic growl that his mind translated through their budding bond, fragments of understanding flowing like the blood they'd shared. She stepped closer, the warmth of her body cutting through the chill, her scent a wild blend of jasmine and musk enveloping him. Kai nodded, his hand reaching out to trace the line of her jaw, feeling the subtle tremor beneath her flawless skin. "The Dravex are coming," he replied, his words low, laced with the edge of a warrior who knew the taste of battle. But in her presence, that edge dulled, replaced by a heat that built slowly, suspensefully, like a storm gathering on the horizon. She pressed against him, her fingers sliding under his shirt to explore the hard planes of his abdomen, nails grazing just enough to send shivers racing up his spine. "Then let us claim this moment," she whispered, her breath hot against his neck, lips brushing his earlobe in a tease that promised more. Kai's resolve cracked like thunder, he pulled her into a kiss that was fierce, demanding, tongues dancing in a rhythm that mirrored the pulse of Lunara itself. Her body molded to his, soft yet strong, her curves yielding in ways that ignited every nerve. He lifted her effortlessly, backing her against a smooth boulder by the stream, the cool stone contrasting the fire between them. Lyra's hands roamed greedily, unfastening his belt with a deftness that spoke of her innate curiosity about this human form. She gasped softly as his fingers slipped beneath her cloak, discovering the warmth between her thighs, her skin silken and responsive. The air around them thickened with suspense, the distant howls of the pack a reminder that they weren't truly alone, that danger lurked just beyond the thorns. Yet that very risk heightened everything, her moans muffled against his shoulder, the way her hips arched into his touch, seeking more. Kai trailed kisses down her neck, savoring the salt of her skin, his mouth finding the peak of one breast through the thin fabric, eliciting a growl that vibrated through both of them. Time stretched in that erotic haze, their bodies entwining in a dance of exploration and urgency. Lyra's legs wrapped around him, pulling him closer, her small ears flattening against her head in pleasure as he entered her slowly, deliberately, building the tension like a coiled spring. Every thrust was a promise, a defiance against the encroaching threats, her walls clenching around him in waves that made stars explode behind his eyes. She clawed at his back, not hard enough to wound but enough to mark, her amber eyes locking onto his blue ones, conveying emotions words couldn't capture: desire, possession, a bond that deepened with each shared breath. But even in ecstasy, suspense lingered. A rustle in the bushes snapped them back, Lyra's ears perking instantly. Kai froze, his hand reaching for his nearby rifle, heart pounding not just from passion but from the thrill of potential interruption. It was only a small creature scurrying away, but the moment lingered, adding an edge to their intimacy. They resumed with renewed fervor, her whispers in his ear a mix of Lupari endearments and gasps, urging him deeper, faster. Climax built like a supernova, crashing over them in unison, bodies trembling as they clung together, the stream's murmur a soothing counterpoint to their ragged breaths. In the aftermath, they lay entwined on the mossy bank, Lyra's head on his chest, her white hair fanned out like a snowy veil. She traced patterns on his skin, her touch now tender, exploratory rather than urgent. "You are my shield," she said softly, the bond allowing him to feel the depth of her words, the fear beneath her strength, the vulnerability of a princess facing war. Ki held her closer, his mind racing with strategies for the battles ahead. The Dravex warlord, Vorak, was no mere raider. Scouts described him as a colossal brute with cybernetic enhancements, his forces equipped with weapons that could rend Lunara's defenses. Kai's human tech might tip the scales, but the Elder's doubts gnawed at him. What if betrayal came from within? As the night deepened, Lyra shifted, her body pressing against his once more, reigniting sparks. "Again?" she teased, her voice a sultry purr, fingers drifting lower. Kai chuckled, a low rumble that made her smile, those sharp canines flashing. But this time their lovemaking was slower, more suspenseful, each caress a deliberate build, exploring boundaries with whispers and touches that left them both aching. He kissed the tips of her pointed ears, discovering how sensitive they were, her body arching in response, a soft whine escaping her lips. She reciprocated, her mouth mapping his scars, tongue flicking over sensitive spots that made him groan. The erotic tension wove with the external threats, creating a tapestry of desire and danger. Lyra's form was a masterpiece, curves that fit perfectly against him, pale skin flushing under his gaze, her G-letter 1EE3 ice letter 3M attire, discarded in the heat of the moment, revealing all. Kai marveled at the contrast. Her wild essence, tamed by his human gentleness, yet unleashing passions he never knew he harbored. As they moved together again, the world narrowed to just them, the glide of skin on skin, the hitch in her breath, the way her eyes darkened with pleasure. Yet, as dawn's first light pierced the glen, a scout's urgent howl shattered the peace. The pack stirred, weapons at the ready. Lyra dressed swiftly, her regal poise returning, but not before stealing one last kiss, her lips lingering with promise. Kai geared up, rifle in hand, the bond pulsing with her resolve. The Dravex were closer than anticipated, their vanguard probing the borders. The citadel was within reach, but the path ahead promised blood and fire. Whispers among the elders grew into open challenges as they broke camp. One, a grizzled veteran named Thorn, confronted Kai directly. "You toy with our princess human. What claim do you have?" Lyra snarled in defense, but Kai met Thorn's gaze steadily. "The claim of blood and bond," he replied, his voice carrying the weight of their shared nights. It quelled the immediate tension, but suspense hung heavy. Would the pack unite, or fracture under pressure? As they marched, Lyra's hand found his again, a subtle erotic reminder amid the march. Her touch sent thrills through him, a promise of more stolen moments. But the horizon darkened with Dravex ships, their silhouettes ominous against the rising suns. Battle loomed, and in its shadow, their connection would be tested, desire forging steel in the fires of war. The approach to the citadel was a gauntlet of traps and patrols, each step laced with erotic undercurrents as Lyra's glances fueled Kai's determination. In quiet lulls, her fingers would brush his arm, a tease that kept the flame alive. Once behind a fallen log during a brief rest, she pulled him close for a hurried embrace, lips crashing in a kiss that tasted of urgency and need. Her body pressed against him, curves igniting memories of the night, but duty called them back. Suspense built with every mile, the air electric with impending clash. Kai's mind whirled with plans, using his ship's remaining drones for reconnaissance, integrating human guerrilla tactics with Lupari ferocity. Lyra listened intently, her admiration evident in the way she leaned in, her breath warm on his skin. Their bond deepened, erotic whispers in the night evolving into strategic intimacy, bodies and minds aligning. But as the citadel's gates came into view, a betrayal unfolded. A scout turned traitor, ambushing from within, his blade aimed at Lyra. Kai reacted instinctively, tackling the assailant, the fight brutal and close. Punches landed with bone-crunching force, claws raking his side, but Kai's training prevailed, subduing the traitor. Lyra tended his wound, her touch turning from medical to sensual, fingers lingering on his bare torso, eyes promising retribution and reward. The pack rallied, the incident cementing Kai's place for now. Yet Vorak's forces advanced, their war cries echoing. The erotic suspense of their bond fueled Kai's resolve. He would protect her, claim her world as his own in the chaos to come. The citadel's massive gates groaned open like the jaws of an ancient beast, welcoming the pack with a rush of warm air scented by incense and forged steel. Kai stepped through alongside Lyra, his side throbbing from the traitor's claws, but the pain was a distant echo compared to the adrenaline surging through him. The fortress was a marvel, a labyrinth of towering spires etched with glowing runes, halls alive with the echoes of Lupari howls, and chambers where the planet's geothermal heart pulsed visibly through crystalline walls. Banners of silver fur fluttered in the internal winds, depicting epic hunts and celestial battles, a testament to Lunara's storied past. Yet, as the gates sealed shut behind them, sealing out the encroaching darkness, Chi couldn't shake the feeling that they had merely traded one peril for another. The elder's eyes followed him like predators sizing up prey, and Lyra's hand tightened on his arm, her touch a anchor in the storm. Inside, the royal court assembled in the grand hall, a cavernous space where moonlight filtered through skylights like silver rain. Queen Alara, Lyra's mother, stood at the throne, a formidable figure with fur streaked in gold and scars that told tales of conquests long before Kai's ancestors had left Earth. Her amber eyes, so like her daughter's, narrowed at the sight of the human. "The star-fallen one," she intoned, her voice a resonant growl that vibrated the air. "You have saved my heir bound by blood. But can you save us all?" The question hung heavy, dramatic in its weight, as the pack murmured, their loyalty torn between tradition and the miracle Kai represented. Lyra stepped forward, her white hair gleaming under the lights, her curvaceous form clad in a fresh gown that hugged her like a second skin, slits revealing pale thighs that moved with hypnotic sway. "He is more than savior, mother," she declared, her voice fierce yet laced with emotion. "He is my bond mate, my shield against the void." The words sent a ripple through the hall, thrilling in their audacity. Bond mate. Kai's heart skipped, surprise flickering across his face. He hadn't realized the depth of what their intimacy implied in Lupari culture. Whispers turned to growls of approval and dissent, the air electric with curiosity about this human who had claimed the princess's heart. Queen Ilara's gaze softened fractionally, but before she could respond, alarms blared, ancient horns amplified by modern tech Kai had helped install. The Dravex breached the outer wards. A scout howled, bursting into the hall with fur matted in blood. Chaos erupted, dramatic and unrelenting, as warriors grabbed weapons, curved blades humming with energy fields, bows that fired plasma-tipped arrows, and shields woven from unbreakable vines. Kai's mind raced, thrilling surges of strategy flooding him. "Flank them from the high towers," he shouted, his voice cutting through the din like a blade. "Use the geothermal vents to create steam cover. I'll rig the sensors to target their ships." Lyra nodded, her small pointed ears twitching with focus, and together they sprinted to the battlements, the pack flowing around them like a silver tide. The view from the walls was breathtaking and terrifying. Dravex forces swarmed the valley below, their hulking forms augmented with cybernetic limbs and armor that gleamed like oil-slicked obsidian. Varak himself led the charge, a colossal warlord towering over his minions, his roar shaking the ground as energy cannons mounted on his shoulders spat bolts of destruction. Ships hovered overhead, dropping more troops in a rain of shadows, their engines whining like angry hornets. The first clash was a symphony of violence, thrilling in its intensity. Lupari archers loosed volleys from the walls, arrows streaking through the air like comets, exploding on impact and sending Dravex warriors tumbling in sprays of sparks and ichor. Kai fired his plasma rifle in controlled bursts, each shot finding its mark, a cybernetic eye here, a thruster packed their toppling foes with human precision that left the pack in awe. But the Dravex pressed on, their numbers overwhelming, claws rending stone as they scaled the lower defenses. One brute leaped onto the battlement, its jaws snapping inches from Lyra's throat. She dodged with fluid grace, her own claws extending like daggers, slashing across its face in a spray of synthetic blood. Kai tackled it from the side, driving his knife into its neck servos, the creature convulsing as circuits fried. Together, he gasped, pulling her close for a split second, their eyes meeting in a blaze of shared fire, curious how battle amplified their bond. Making every glance feel like a revelation. Deeper into the fray, surprises unfolded like hidden stars. A section of wall crumbled under cannon fire, and Dravex poured through the breach, their war cries a cacophony of rage. Queen Ilara joined the fight, her presence dramatic as she wielded a staff that channeled Lunara's energy, blasting waves of force that hurled enemies back. But Vorak targeted her, charging through the melee like a juggernaut, his massive fists smashing Lupari aside. Kai saw the peril, his heart pounding with thrilling dread. "Lyra, cover me," he yelled, leaping from the wall onto a vine ladder, descending into the chaos below. She followed without hesitation, her body a blur of white hair and lethal motion, her gown tearing at the seams to reveal more of her sensual form, pale skin marked with the dust of battle, yet undiminished in its allure. The ground battle was a whirlwind of claws, blades, and energy blasts, each moment building to a climax of survival. Kai weaved through the press, his rifle barking death, but a Dravex elite ambushed him, its tentacle-like appendage wrapping around his leg and yanking him off balance. Pain lanced through him as it slammed him against a rock, stars exploding in his vision. Curious strength surged from the bond, Lyra's emotions flooding him like adrenaline, her fear and fury lending him power. He rolled free, firing point blank into its core, the explosion lighting the night. But Vorak loomed now, his shadow eclipsing the moon's, eyes glowing with cybernetic malice. "The human pet," he snarled, voice modulated like grinding metal. "I'll crush you and claim the princess as my trophy." The warlord swung a massive hammer, the air whistling with its passage. Kai dodged, the ground cratering where he stood, thrilling vibrations shaking his bones. Lyra leaped onto Vorak's back, her claws raking his armor, sparks flying as she sought weak points. "You will not touch him," she howled, her voice a dramatic crescendo of defiance. Vorak bucked, throwing her off, but Kai seized the moment, activating a grenade from his pack and hurling it at the warlord's feet. The blast staggered the giant, exposing a chink in his chest, plating a glowing power core. Surprise twisted Vorak's features as Kai charged, leaping onto the fallen hammer's handle for leverage, driving his knife toward the core. Time slowed in that thrilling apex, the climax hanging by a thread. Vorak's hand clamped around Kai's wrist, squeezing with bone-crushing force, a cruel laugh bubbling from his throat. "Foolish ape," he growled. But Lyra, ever the surprise, vaulted from the shadows, her small ears flattened in determination, and plunged her claws into Vorak's neck cables. Fluid sprayed, the grip weakening just enough. With a roar that echoed human resilience, Kai twisted free and stabbed home, the core shattering in a burst of energy that lit the battlefield like a newborn sun. Vorak collapsed, his forces faltering in dramatic waves as their leader fell. The Lupari surged forward, driving the Dravex back, howls of victory piercing the night. But as the dust settled, curiosity gnawed at Kai. Why had the traitor struck when he did? And what secrets did Vorak's dying eyes hold, a flicker of something beyond mere conquest? Lyra pulled him into an embrace amid the cheers, her body trembling against his, lips finding his in a kiss that was both triumphant and desperate. "You are our king now," she whispered, her amber eyes wide with surprising certainty. The pack bowed, elders included, their loyalty sealed in blood and fire. Yet, as the citadel's halls filled with celebrations, a shadowy figure slipped away unnoticed, a survivor from the Dravex ranks, carrying a curious artifact that pulsed with forbidden energy. Kai felt a chill through the bond, a premonition of greater threats lurking in the stars. The battle was won, but the war. That climax was just beginning, thrilling promises of alliances and betrayals yet to unfold. Exhaustion claimed them that night, but not before Lyra led him to her private chambers, a sanctuary of soft furs and glowing crystals. She shed her tattered gown, her pale skin bathed in moonlight, curves inviting as she drew him down. Their lovemaking was a dramatic release, bodies entwining in a rhythm born of survival's edge, thrilling touches that explored new depths, her moans a curious melody of alien passion meeting human tenderness. Surprise came in waves, the way her pointed ears quivered at his whispers, the bond allowing him to feel her ecstasy as his own, amplifying every sensation to climactic heights. As they lay spent, Lyra traced scars on his chest, her voice soft with curiosity. "What worlds have you seen, my bondmate? What surprises await us beyond Lunara?" Kai smiled, pulling her closer, but his mind wandered to the artifact the scout had reported missing from Vorak's corpse, a device that hummed with interstellar coordinates, hinting at a larger empire's shadow. Dramatic tension built in his thoughts. Was this invasion merely a probe? The thrilling unknown beckoned, surprising alliances perhaps forming in the void. Morning brought revelations. In the War Council, elders presented ancient scrolls, their contents curious and surprising prophecies of a bloodgiver from the stars who would unite packs against a galactic blight. Kai, the human warrior, fit the description eerily well. Lyra's hand found his under the table, a squeeze that sent thrilling sparks through him. But as discussions turned to rebuilding, a messenger arrived, breathless Dravex remnants fleeing, but not before activating a beacon. Signals pierced the atmosphere, calling to something vast, unknown. The climax of that day came in a surge of action. Kai and Lyra led a strike team to the beacon site, a ruined temple atop a jagged peak. The ascent was thrilling, winds howling like banshees, their bond guiding leaps across chasms. At the summit, they found the device, a pulsating orb, its surface etched with symbols that made Kai's med scanner go haywire. Vorak's final surprise: it wasn't just a call for reinforcements. It was a portal activator, ripping open a rift in reality. From the void emerged not Dravex, but something far more curious and dramatic, a fleet of ethereal ships, crewed by beings of light and shadow, their intentions shrouded in mystery. "Allies or invaders?" Lyra whispered, her body tense against his, small ears perked toward the hum. Kai gripped his rifle, heart racing with thrilling anticipation. The lead ship descended, a hatch opening to reveal a figure that defied expectation, a hybrid, part Lupari, part machine, extending a hand in surprising greeting. "We come for the bloodbound," it intoned, eyes locking on Kai. The revelation crashed over them like a wave. Vorak had been a pawn in a larger game, the beacon summoning guardians of an ancient pact. Lunara wasn't just a world, it was a key to galactic balance, and Kai's blood had unlocked it. Dramatic alliances formed in that moment, thrilling prospects of interstellar war and romance blending into one. Lyra's gaze held surprise and pride, her sensual form pressing close as they faced the unknown together. But beneath the triumph, curiosity burned. What price would this new bond demand? The climax had peaked, yet surprises lingered in the stars, waiting to unfold. The hybrid figure stepped fully into the light of the rift, its form a mesmerizing blend of organic fur and shimmering circuits, eyes glowing with an otherworldly intelligence that made Kai's skin prickle. "We are the Sentinels of the Veil," it announced, voice echoing like harmonics from a distant choir. The fleet behind it hummed in unison, ships that looked more like living organisms than machines, tendrils of energy coiling around hulls that shifted colors with the wind. Lyra's hand tightened in Kai's, her small pointed ears flattening slightly in a mix of awe and wariness, her curvaceous body leaning into him for support. The drama of the moment swelled like a tidal wave, the air thick with the scent of ozone and ancient power, as the Lupari pack gathered behind them, weapons half raised, howls caught in their throats. This wasn't just an alliance, it was a cosmic reckoning, and Kai, the accidental key, stood at its center. The Sentinel extended a clawed hand, palm up, revealing a holographic projection that flickered to life, a map of the galaxy spiraling outward, Lunara pulsing at its heart like a beacon. "Your blood, human, has awakened the pact forged eons ago," it explained, its tone dramatic, laced with reverence that bordered on theatrical. "The veil protects the balance, but shadows stir. The void empire rises, seeking to consume worlds like yours." Kai blinked, trying to process the flood of information, his mind racing through memories of spacer tales about lost empires and guardian races. Lyra glanced at him, her amber eyes wide with a pride that made his chest tighten, but beneath it lurked the drama of uncertainty. What did this mean for them? For Lunara? The pack shifted restlessly, elders muttering about old legends coming alive, their fur bristling as the Sentinel's gaze swept over them. As the hologram expanded, showing tendrils of darkness encroaching on star systems, an awkward silence fell. Kai cleared his throat, stepping forward with the bravado of a man who'd crash-landed into stranger situations. "So, you're the good guys? Because if this is another invasion disguised as a tea party, I've had enough surprises for one day." The Sentinel tilted its head, circuits whirring audibly, as if processing the humor in his words. A soft chuckle rippled from Lyra, her sharp canines flashing in a grin that lightened the tension, but the pack stared at him like he'd just howled a bad joke at a funeral. The drama heightened as the Sentinel paused, then emitted a sound that might have been laughter or a system error before replying, "Your wit is quaint, blood giver. But yes, we stand against the void. Join us, and Lunara shall thrive." Negotiations unfolded atop the peak, the wind whipping dramatically around them as more sentinels descended, their forms varying from sleek wolf hybrids to ethereal beings that floated like ghosts. Kai found himself in the center of it all, translating through the bond with Lyra, who acted as intermediary with her regal poise. But awkwardness crept in when a particularly inquisitive sentinel, a female with glowing veins pulsing under translucent skin, approached him too closely, scanning his body with a beam that made his clothes feel transparent. "Fascinating specimen," she murmured, her voice a sultry echo. Human physiology intertwined with Lupari essence, such potential for enhancement. Lyra's growl was low and possessive, her hand sliding around Kai's waist in a move that was both protective and a tad territorial, her curves pressing against him in a way that sent heat rushing through him despite the chill. Kai stifled a laugh, whispering to her jealous, "Princess? I think she's just admiring my rugged charm." Lyra's ears twitched, her pale skin flushing slightly, and she shot back a playful snarl that translated to something like, "Admire from afar, or I'll show her Lupari charm with claws." The humor diffused some of the drama, but it escalated again as the Sentinels revealed the price of alliance. Kai's blood wasn't just a one-time gift. It was the catalyst for a ritual that would bind Lunara to the Veil network, amplifying the pack's abilities but requiring him to undergo a harmonization process. "It will deepen your bond," the lead sentinel intoned gravely, projecting images of warriors gaining enhanced strength, senses sharpened to cosmic levels. But the catch. The ritual involved immersion in a veil chamber, a pod-like structure that looked suspiciously like a high-tech coffin, where his human DNA would be tuned to interstellar frequencies. Drama thickened as doubts surfaced. Would it change him? Make him less human? Lyra's face paled, her small ears drooping ever so slightly, and she pulled him aside amid the swirling winds, her voice a dramatic whisper. "I cannot lose you to the stars, Kai. Not after you've become my world." He cupped her face, thumbs brushing her flawless skin, trying to inject some levity into the awkward gravity of it all. "Hey, if I come out with glowing eyes or extra arms, at least I'll be better at hugging." She laughed, a melodic sound that cut through the tension, but her amber eyes shimmered with unshed tears, heightening the emotional stakes. The pack watched from a distance, their loyalty to Lyra clashing with wariness of these outsiders, creating an awkward standoff where howls of support mixed with skeptical snarls. Queen Lyra intervened, her presence commanding as she strode forward, her golden-streaked fur catching the light. "If this saves Lunara, then proceed. But harm him, and the veil will face our fangs." The sentinels nodded solemnly, but Kai caught a glitch in one of their expressions, a flicker of something hidden, adding a layer of intrigue that made his gut twist. As preparations began, the drama built to a fever pitch. The strike team descended the peak, escorting the sentinels to the citadel, where the pack's halls buzzed with frantic activity. Warriors reinforced defenses, elders consulted ancient tomes for veil lore, and young Lupari pups stared wide-eyed at the ethereal visitors, one even poking a sentinel's tendril only to yelp when it sparked harmlessly. Kai couldn't help but chuckle at the sight, the humor a brief respite amid the chaos. "Looks like your tech isn't pup-proof," he quipped to the lead sentinel, who responded with a dignified hum that might have been amusement. Lyra stayed glued to his side, her touch lingering longer than necessary, fingers tracing patterns on his arm that sent shivers down his spine. Awkward in public, but thrilling in its intimacy. In the royal chambers that evening, the awkwardness peaked in a way that blended drama with unexpected humor. Lyra paced like a caged wolf, her gown swirling around her sensual form, pale skin glowing under crystal lights. "This harmonization, it could alter you," she said, voice trembling with dramatic concern. Kai pulled her into his arms, intending comfort, but the moment turned electric as her body melted against his, curves fitting perfectly. "Whatever happens, I'm still me," he assured, kissing her forehead. But then, in a clumsy attempt to lighten the mood, he added, "Worst case, I grow a tail. Think of the fun we could have." She froze, then burst into laughter, her small ears perking up, but the sound dissolved into a passionate kiss that knocked over a nearby vase, shattering it dramatically across the floor. They both jumped, staring at the mess, and Key grinned sheepishly. "See, already causing chaos without extra limbs." The humor eased her fears, leading to a tender moment where they sat amid the shards, talking of futures, dramatic visions of united galaxies, awkward blends of human and Lupari customs, like teaching the pack about Earth holidays or introducing coffee to a species that thrived on raw energy. But beneath it all, tension simmered. Scouts reported void scouts probing Lunara's orbit, shadowy vessels that vanished like ghosts. The ritual loomed at dawn, heightening every glance, every touch. Lyra's hand slipped under his shirt, tracing scars with a possessiveness that made his breath hitch, the awkwardness of impending change fueling a desperate closeness. As night deepened, an unexpected visitor amplified the drama, an elder Thorn, bursting in with furrowed brow. "The sentinels demand a pre-ritual scan," he growled, eyes darting awkwardly to their disheveled state. Kai stifled a groan, pulling on his shirt while Lyra adjusted her gown with regal dignity, though her flushed cheeks betrayed the interruption. "Timing, Thorn," Kai muttered, earning a puzzled tilt from the elder's head. "Human humor?" Thorn asked gruffly, and Lyra's snort turned into shared laughter, diffusing the awkward intrusion. The scan in the veil chamber was a spectacle of drama and oddity. Kai lay on a glowing platform, sentinels humming incantations while holographic probes danced over him like curious fireflies. Lyra watched anxiously, her fingers twisting in her white hair, the air thick with energy that made hairs stand on end. When a probe tickled his side unexpectedly, Kai yelped, "Hey, buy me dinner first." The sentinels paused, confused, but Lyra's giggle echoed, adding humor to the solemnity. Results flashed compatible, but with anomalies his human humor apparently, registering as a unique frequency. "It will make the bond unpredictable," a sentinel noted dryly, heightening the intrigue. Dawn approached with void attacks escalating distant explosions rocking the citadel, dramatic flares lighting the sky. Kai and Lyra shared a final, awkward embrace in the chamber's anteroom, her sensual form pressing close, whispers of love mingled with fears. "Come back to me," she urged, voice breaking. He nodded, injecting humor with bells on or whatever cosmic upgrade they throw in. As the pod sealed, drama crested, the pack howling in unison, awkward alliances forging in fire. What emerged would change everything, surprises waiting in the harmonized dawn. Yet, in the pod's hum, Key felt a surge, not just power, but a flood of Lyra's emotions, awkward and raw, her love, her doubts, her fierce protectiveness. Humor flickered in his thoughts. If this made him read minds, pack meetings would be hilariously chaotic. The process intensified, lights blinding, body thrumming with energy that built to a dramatic peak, leaving him suspended between worlds. The energy within the pod pulsed like a living heartbeat, enveloping Kai in waves that blurred the line between his own sensations and the vast network of the veil. Lights danced across his vision, colors shifting from deep crimson to ethereal blue, as if the stars themselves were weaving through his veins. He floated in that suspended state, Lyra's emotions crashing over him like a gentle tide, her love a warm glow, her doubts faint ripples of shadow, her protectiveness a fierce undercurrent that anchored him. As the process reached its zenith, a surge of power coursed through his body, heightening every nerve, every whisper of feeling. When the pod finally hissed open, steam curling into the dawn air like exhaled breath, Kai emerged transformed, his senses sharpened to a razor's edge. The bond with Lyra now a vivid thread that pulled him toward her without words. She was there waiting, her white hair tousled by the morning breeze, amber eyes wide with a mix of relief and wonder. The citadel's courtyard bustled with sentinels and Lupari alike, but in that moment, the world narrowed to just the two of them. Lyra rushed forward, her curvaceous form moving with urgent grace, her gown flowing like liquid silk against her pale skin. She threw her arms around him, pressing close, and Kay felt the enhanced connection ignite, her heartbeat syncing with his, her warmth seeping through his clothes like an invitation. "You're whole," she whispered, her small pointed ears twitching as she pulled back to study him, fingers tracing his face as if to confirm he was real. But there was something new in his eyes, a subtle glow that mirrored the veil's energy, and it stirred a deeper hunger in her gaze. The pack and sentinels gave them space, sensing the intimate pull, as Queen Ilara nodded approvingly from afar. The harmonization succeeded, a sentinel intoned, but Kai barely heard, his focus locked on Lyra. The ritual had amplified not just his strength but their bond, making every touch electric, every glance laden with unspoken desire. "Come with me," Lyra murmured, her voice a soft growl that sent shivers down his spine. She led him away from the courtyard, through winding corridors lit by glowing crystals, to a secluded chamber high in the spires, a private retreat, adorned with soft firs and vines that draped like natural curtains, the air scented with blooming nightflowers that released a subtle, intoxicating aroma. Once inside, the door sealed with a quiet click, and the outside world faded. Lyra turned to him, her hands sliding up his chest, unfastening his shirt with deliberate slowness. The harmonization had heightened his awareness, making the brush of her fingers feel like trails of fire. "I felt you through it all," she confessed, her pale skin flushing as she stepped closer, her body aligning with his in a way that left no room for doubt. Kai's breath caught, his hands finding the curve of her waist, pulling her in. Their lips met in a kiss that started tender but quickly deepened, tongues exploring with a passion born from the near loss of the ritual. He could sense her emotions now more vividly, her relief melting into yearning, a need to reaffirm their connection in the most primal way. Lyra's gown slipped from her shoulders with a whisper of fabric, revealing the elegant lines of her form, curves that invited his touch, skin smooth and inviting under the soft light. Kai marveled at her, his fingers tracing the swell of her hips, the gentle rise of her chest, eliciting a soft sigh from her lips. She guided his hands, showing him where she craved attention, her small ears flattening against her head in pleasure as he obliged. The bond amplified everything. He felt echoes of her sensations mingling with his own, a shared wave of warmth building between them. They moved to the bed of furs, bodies entwining slowly, savoring the rediscovery. Kai kissed along her neck, down to the sensitive spots that made her arch against him, her nails grazing his back lightly, urging him on. As they came together, the moment was a blend of gentleness and intensity, their movements fluid and rhythmic, like a dance perfected by the stars. Lyra's legs wrapped around him, drawing him deeper, her breaths coming in soft, melodic gasps that filled the chamber. The enhanced bond turned every caress into a symphony, her pleasure radiating back to him, heightening his own until they moved as one, lost in the ebb and flow. He whispered her name, his hands exploring the contours of her body, finding places that made her tremble, her amber eyes locking onto his, with a depth that spoke of forever. The climax built gradually, a crescendo of shared ecstasy that left them both breathless, bodies glistening in the afterglow, hearts pounding in unison. They lay tangled in the furs, Lyra's head on his chest, her white hair splayed like a silken fan. "The veil has made us stronger," she said softly, tracing patterns on his skin, her touch still sending aftershocks through him. Kai nodded, feeling the new power humming within strengthened muscles, sharper reflexes, but more importantly, this unbreakable link to her. Yet, as they rested, the drama of the larger galaxy intruded gently through the bond. He sensed her lingering worries about the Void Empire, the alliances forming below. But for now, in this stolen interlude, they indulged in the closeness, her body curling against his, inviting another round of tender exploration. Lyra shifted, straddling him with a playful smile, her curves pressing down in a way that reignited the spark. "Show me what the stars have given you," she teased, her hands roaming lower, guiding him back into the rhythm. This time, it was slower, more exploratory kisses lingering on sensitive areas, fingers teasing until anticipation built to a delicious edge. Kai responded in kind, his enhanced senses allowing him to attune perfectly to her responses, drawing out sighs and soft growls that echoed their passion. They moved with a harmony that felt cosmic, bodies aligning in ways that blurred where one ended and the other began, the bond weaving their pleasures into a tapestry of shared bliss. As waves of release washed over them again, Lyra collapsed beside him, her laughter light and breathless. "Human endurance enhanced," she murmured, nuzzling his neck, her small ears brushing his skin. Kai chuckled, pulling her close, but the moment deepened as they talked in hushed tones about the future, the threats looming, how their union could unite worlds. The intimacy wasn't just physical, it was emotional, a reaffirmation of trust amid the chaos. Yet, as the sun climbed higher, a knock at the door signaled the return to duty sentinels requesting their presence for strategy sessions. Reluctantly, they dressed, stealing final touches and kisses that promised more later. Lyra adjusted her gown, the fabric hugging her form once more, while Kai felt the veil's energy steady him for what lay ahead. Emerging from the chamber, they rejoined the council, the pack noticing the subtle glow about them, whispers of approval rippling through. Queen Elara smiled knowingly, but the drama escalated as holograms displayed void movements, fleets amassing in nearby sectors, probes testing Lunara's shields. Kai contributed ideas, his harmonized mind offering innovative tactics, blending human guerrilla warfare with Lupari instincts and sentinel tech. Lyra stood by his side, her hand occasionally brushing his under the table, a secret reminder of their private world. But awkwardness arose when a sentinel innocently commented on the elevated pheromone levels in the room, attributing it to the bond earning chuckles from the pack and a flush from Lyra. Kai diffused it with humor. "Blame the night flowers, they're potent." The group laughed, but the underlying tension remained. The Void's advance was relentless, scouts reporting shadowy incursions that vanished like mist. In the midst of planning, Lyra pulled him aside during a break, leading him to a balcony overlooking the valleys. The view was stunning emerald forests, stretching to horizons dotted with distant storms, but her intent was clear. "We need this," she said, pressing against him, her body warm and inviting even through layers. Their kiss was brief but charged, hands wandering just enough to stoke the fire without igniting it fully here. The bond allowed him to feel her need for connection amid the stress, and he reciprocated, fingers tracing her back, eliciting a soft purr. Returning to the council, invigorated, they dove into details fortifying key points, training hybrid squads. But a surprise intel drop heightened the stakes, a captured void drone revealing coordinates for an impending strike. Drama built as alarms sounded faintly in the distance, a perimeter breach testing their readiness. Kai and Lyra led a response team, their enhanced synergy making them formidable, he with precise shots, she with agile strikes, their movements almost telepathic. Back in the Citadel, as evening fell, they retreated once more, the day's victories fueling a night of deeper intimacy. Lyra initiated, her confidence amplified by the bond, guiding him with gentle commands that blended authority and desire. They explored slowly, bodies responding to every nuance, the harmonization turning sensations into heightened waves of pleasure. Kisses trailed lower, hands and lips discovering new ways to connect, until they merged in a rhythm that built to exquisite peaks, leaving them spent and content. Whispers followed in the quiet, plans for the future, dreams of peace where their love could flourish without war's shadow. Yet, the bond revealed undercurrents: Lyra's quiet fears of losing him to the Veil's demands, his resolve to protect her world. As sleep claimed them, entwined in each other's arms, the galaxy's threats loomed, but their connection was a beacon, promising strength in unity. The next dawn brought more counsel, but their stolen moments sustained them, brief touches, shared glances that carried the weight of their nights. The story of their bond spread among the pack, inspiring loyalty, but also envy from some, adding layers to the drama. As alliances solidified, Kai realized this was his new reality, a life intertwined with Lyra, where passion and peril danced hand in hand. As the first rays of Lunara's dual suns filtered through the chamber's crystalline windows, casting prismatic patterns across the firs, Chi stirred from a light slumber, his arm draped protectively over Lyra's sleeping form. Her white hair spilled like fresh snow against his chest, her small pointed ears twitching faintly with dreams, and he couldn't help but trace the curve of her back, marveling at how perfectly she fit against him. The bond hummed contentedly between them, a steady pulse of shared warmth that had become as natural as breathing. Outside, the Citadel stirred with the sounds of preparation, distant howls coordinating patrols, the low thrum of sentinel ships docking for resupply, but in this quiet haven, the galaxy's chaos felt distant, almost conquerable. Kai pressed a soft kiss to her forehead, reluctant to break the spell, but duty called, the council awaited, and with void probes edging closer, every moment counted. Lyra's eyes fluttered open, amber depths meeting his with a sleepy smile that melted into something deeper, more inviting. "Stay a little longer," she murmured, her voice a husky growl, her body shifting against his in a way that reignited the embers from the night before. Kai chuckled softly, his fingers wandering lower, but he shook his head with mock regret. "If we do, the void might win by default while we're too distracted to notice." She laughed, a melodic sound that vibrated through him, and pulled him into one last lingering kiss, her lips soft and insistent, promising more when the day's battles were won. They dressed in companionable silence, her gown hugging her sensual curves once more, while he donned his reinforced flight suit, now augmented with Lupari armor plates that gleamed like polished silver. Hand in hand, they descended to the grand hall, where the air buzzed with strategy and resolve. The council chamber was a hive of activity, holographic displays flickering with real-time scans of the orbiting threats, shadowy void vessels that darted like phantoms, testing shields with probing energy bursts. Queen Ilara presided at the head, her golden-streaked fur commanding attention, flanked by elders and sentinel representatives, whose ethereal forms shifted subtly in the light. Thorn, the once skeptical elder, now nodded respectfully as Ki entered, the pack's whispers carrying notes of admiration laced with that faint undercurrent of envy. "The blood giver returns," Ilara announced, her voice resonant. "With the harmonization complete, we forge ahead. Sentinels, report on the void's movements." A lead sentinel projected a star map, tendrils of darkness coiling toward Lunara like insidious vines, their fleet amasses in the nebula veil 3 cycles away at warp speed. "But our scans detect anomalies, not just warships, but harvesters, vessels designed to siphon planetary essence." Murmurs rippled through the room, Lyra's hand tightening in Kai's, as the implications sank in the void wasn't invading, they were devouring worlds from the inside out. Kai leaned forward, his enhanced mind processing the data with newfound clarity. We hit their harvesters first, disrupt the supply chain. Use guerrilla strikes with hybrid teams, Lupari speed, human tactics, sentinel cloaks. The plan unfolded seamlessly, nods of approval building momentum, the bond allowing him to sense Lyra's pride swelling like a tide. But as discussions deepened, a sentinel technician approached with a handheld device, its screen pulsing with biometric readings. Bloodgiver, a final calibration is needed. Your harmonized signature shows irregularities. Kai shrugged it off at first, extending his arm for the scan, but Lyra's ears perked with concern. What kind of irregularities? She asked sharply. The sentinel hesitated, circuits whirring. Nothing alarming yet. Merely echoes from your human origins, perhaps clashing with the veil's frequencies. The scan hummed to life, a warm tingle spreading through Kai's veins, and he felt the bond flare brighter, pulling in fragments of memory not his own, but echoes from the veil's vast network. The device chimed, and the room fell silent as the hologram expanded, not with battle data, but with a genetic map, a swirling helix of DNA strands intertwining human markers with something ancient alien. This cannot be, Lyra breathed, her eyes widening. Ki stared, confusion knotting his brow. What is this? Some glitch from the ritual. The sentinel's voice dropped to a dramatic hush. No glitch. Your blood, it carries the mark of the ancients, the progenitors who seeded the veil eons ago. You are not merely human, Kai. You are a descendant of the Star Weavers, the very beings who created the pact we uphold. The revelation hit like a supernova, a powerful twist that shattered the room's composure and left Kai reeling. Whispers erupted into howls of shock, elders scrambling to consult ancient scrolls that suddenly aligned with this truth. Lyra pulled away slightly, her amber eyes searching his face with a mix of awe and betrayal, not at him, but at the universe for hiding this. How is this possible? She whispered, her voice trembling. Kai's mind raced, fragments of his past snapping into focus, the rare blood type that saved her, his uncanny survival instincts, the way he'd always felt out of place among Earth's colonies. I don't know, he admitted, his voice cracking. My family history was lost in the colony wars. But if this is true, the implications cascaded. He wasn't an accidental savior, he was engineered for this, a living key to the Veil's deepest secrets. Drama surged as Thorn stepped forward, his grizzled muzzle twisting in revelation. The prophecies spoke of a star fallen with ancient blood, not just any human, but one of the lost line. The pack's envy transformed into reverence, bows deepening. But Kai felt a surge of unease through the bond, Lyra's emotions turbulent, a storm of love clashing with fear. What did this mean for them? Was their connection predestined, manipulated by cosmic forces? The sentinel elaborated, heightening the surprise. Your ancestors fled the void's rise, scattering seeds across galaxies. Earth was one such cradle. Your arrival here. No crash-landing coincidence. The anomaly that pulled your ship was a veil beacon, activated by Lunara's peril, drawing you home. Kai's world tilted, the twist unraveling everything he thought he knew. He gripped the table, steadying himself, as flashbacks assaulted him, enhanced by the bond of visions of ethereal beings crafting worlds, their essence woven into human DNA as a safeguard. Lyra reached for him, her touch grounding, but her eyes held questions. Does this change us? She asked softly, amid the chaos. He pulled her close, whispering, nothing changes how I feel. But if I'm part of this, we use it. The council exploded into action, strategies shifting with this new leverage. Kai's blood could now interface directly with Veil artifacts, unlocking weapons and shields long dormant. Yet, the twist deepened. A hidden chamber in the Citadel activated at the scan's completion, seals breaking with a rumble that shook the foundations. The pack followed as doors groaned open, revealing a vault untouched for millennia, crystalline pedestals holding artifacts that hummed in response to Kai's presence. One, a ornate orb, projected a holographic figure, an ancient, resembling a blend of human and Lupari, its voice echoing like thunder. Descendant, the void hunts our legacy. You must reclaim the core, a nexus hidden in Earth's ruins to seal the breach forever. Earth's ruins. Kai's homeworld, thought lost to overcolonization and wars, held the key. Surprise layered upon surprise, the Void's harvesters weren't random, they targeted seeded worlds, and Earth was next. Lyra's hand found his again, her curvaceous form pressing close for support, but the bond revealed her inner turmoil, pride in his heritage, fear of losing him to a greater destiny. "We'll go together," she declared, her voice steadying the room. Queen Lyra nodded, rallying the pack. "A quest to the origin world. Sentinels, prepare the fleet." But as plans formed, a darker undercurrent emerged, the Sentinel technicians' earlier hesitation now suspicious. Through the enhanced bond, Kai sensed a faint discord. Not all Sentinels were allies. One, lurking in the shadows, transmitted a covert signal, its loyalty fractured by void infiltration. The twist culminated in a private moment as the council adjourned. In a side alcove, Lyra pulled him aside, her pale skin glowing under the holograms. "Ancient blood or not, you're mine," she said fiercely, kissing him with a passion that defied the revelations. Kai responded in kind, the bond amplifying their connection, but his mind whirled. The surprise of his lineage opened doors, but also traps. A stealthy void agent among the Sentinels. Earth's secrets calling him back. The galaxy's fate hinged on this, and as they emerged to lead the preparations, Kay felt the weight of stars on his shoulders. Scouts reported increased void activity, portals flickering open in Lunara's atmosphere, spewing scouts that clashed with patrols in brief, intense skirmishes. Kai and Lyra joined one, their synergy lethal, he with veil-augmented shots that pierced shadows, she with claws that rent armor. Victory came swift, but a captured drone revealed coordinates not for Lunara, but Earth, confirming the ancients' warning. The pack celebrated the win, but Kai's surprise heritage spread like wildfire, pups approaching him with wide-eyed wonder, elders offering ancient talismans. That night, in their chambers, the twist's emotional fallout deepened their intimacy. Lyra explored him anew, as if mapping the ancient blood in his veins, her touches tender yet urgent. "Show me the stars in you," she whispered, guiding him into a rhythm that blended discovery with reassurance. Their bodies moved in harmony, the bond weaving past and present, peaks of pleasure grounding him amid the upheaval. As dawn neared, a message from the vault's orb activated another layer of surprise. Kai's true name etched in ancient script, Kaler, meaning Bridge of Worlds. Lyra traced it on his skin, her eyes shining. "Then bridge us to victory," she said. The quest loomed, alliances tested, but the powerful twist had forged him anew, a human warrior no longer accidental, but essential. Yet, in the quiet, doubt crept. If he was made for this, was their love truly free, or scripted by the ancients? The bond pulsed with her unwavering faith, but the surprise left scars, invisible yet profound. As they prepared to journey to Earth, the cradle turned battleground. As preparations for the journey to Earth intensified, the Citadel transformed into a whirlwind of activity, Sentinels interfacing with Lupari artisans to retrofit ships with veil technology, cloaking fields that shimmered like mirages, engines pulsing with ancient energy that hummed through the stone walls. Kai, now grappling with the name Kaler, though it felt like an ill-fitting cloak, stood at the heart of it all, his enhanced mind absorbing schematics and strategies with unnerving ease. Lyra remained by his side, her presence a constant balm against the creeping doubt that gnawed at him in the quiet hours. Was their bond a genuine spark, or merely a thread woven by the ancients to pull him here? The question lingered like a shadow, heightening the drama of every shared glance, every brush of her hand against his. Yet her faith pulsed steadily through their connection, a lighthouse in the storm, urging him forward as fleets assembled in Lunara's skies. The council reconvened in the vault, the air thick with the scent of aged crystal and ozone from activated artifacts. Queen Lyra unrolled a stellar map etched on translucent hide, her claws tracing paths through nebula-veiled routes to Earth. "The journey will test us," she declared, her voice booming with dramatic gravity. "Void harvesters swarm the old cradle. Your blood, Kaler, will awaken the core, but only if we breach their blockade." Kai nodded, but inside, turmoil brewed. Earth was a myth to him now, a ruined world of forgotten colonies, and returning as some prophesied bridge felt like stepping into a role he hadn't auditioned for. Lyra squeezed his hand under the table, her small pointed ears perking toward the discussions, but the bond betrayed her own undercurrents, fierce protectiveness laced with a fear she tried to bury. Awkwardness struck during a ritual briefing when a Sentinel elder, its form a swirling vortex of light and fur, approached Kai with a ceremonial vial. "Drink this essence to attune fully to the core," it intoned solemnly. The liquid glowed an unsettling purple, bubbling faintly. Kai eyed it warily, the pack watching expectantly. "Does it come in a less radioactive flavor?" he quipped, trying to inject humor into the tension. Lyra stifled a snort, but Thorn grumbled, human jests at sacred moments unbecoming of an ancient's heir. The room tensed, drama escalating as elders exchanged glances, but the sentinel merely tilted its head. Flavor? Irrelevant. It will bind your essence. Kai downed it in one gulp, the taste like electric berries exploding on his tongue, and he grimaced comically. Well, if I start glowing in the dark, at least I'll save on ship lights. Lyra's laughter broke the ice, easing the awkward standoff, though her eyes held a dramatic plea, don't push too far. As the day wore on, preparations turned personal. In a side chamber, Lyra helped him don a new suit woven from veil threads and loop-hairy scales, form-fitting and enhanced with regenerative nanites. Her fingers lingered on his shoulders, tracing the fabric over his muscles, the touch turning the fitting into something more intimate. It suits you, my bridge, she teased, her curvaceous form close enough to feel her warmth, but awkwardness bloomed when Queen Alara entered unannounced, her golden eyes narrowing at their proximity. Mother? Lyra yelped, stepping back with a flush on her pale skin, while Kai fumbled with the suit's clasps, muttering, timing, Your Majesty ever heard of knocking? Alara's muzzle twitched in what might have been amusement or disapproval, heightening the drama. The stars wait for no one, least of all dalliances. But it does suit him. She left with a regal nod, leaving them in stifled laughter, the humor a brief shield against the looming quest. The drama intensified that evening during a pack feast, a ritual send-off where howls echoed through the halls, platters heaped with glowing fruits and savory meats. Kai sat beside Lyra, the bond alive with her emotions, but envy from younger warriors simmered, their stares lingering on her too long. One bold pup, barely furred, approached with wide eyes. Ancient One, can you make stars dance? He chuckled, only if they've had too much essence. But the moment turned awkward when the pup tripped, spilling a bowl of luminescent sauce across Kai's lap. Gasps rippled, drama peaking as elders scowled at the omen, but Lyra burst into giggles, dabbing at the mess with her cloak. See, even the stars mark you as theirs sticky and bright. Kai played along, great, now I'm a walking nightlight. Void beware. The humor diffused the tension, turning potential ill will into shared merriment, though Thorn muttered about disrespecting traditions. Deeper into the night, as the feast wound down, a scout burst in with urgent news. Void incursions had pierced Lunara's outer shields, shadowy tendrils probing for weaknesses. Alarms blared, heightening the drama to a fever pitch as the pack mobilized. Kai and Lyra raced to the battlements, the awkward sauce stain forgotten in the rush. From the walls, they saw it ethereal void harvesters descending like dark comets, their forms twisting space itself. They're early, Lyra growled, her claws extending. Kai activated his suit's enhancements, energy surging through him like liquid fire. Then let's give them a welcome party. Hybrid teams launched Lupari leaping from vines with primal fury, sentinels cloaking them in veils of invisibility, Che directing fire with ancient precision. The skirmish was a chaotic ballet of drama and danger. Plasma bolts clashing with void tendrils that sucked light from the air, howls mixing with electronic shrieks. Kai dodged a lashing appendage, firing into its core, but a second harvester targeted Lyra, its maw opening to engulf her. Heart pounding, he leaped between them, the bond screaming her fear. Not today, he yelled, hurling a veil grenade that exploded in a cascade of stars, staggering the beast. Lyra finished it with a savage slash, her white hair whipping wildly, but in the aftermath, she tackled him in a fierce hug amid the debris. Foolish bridge, don't play hero without me. Her voice cracked with dramatic emotion, but Key grinned. Hey, heroes get the best hugs. Sauce stains optional. Her laugh was a bright spark in the chaos, humor cutting through the adrenaline. As the harvesters retreated, leaving smoking craters, the pack cheered, but the victory was Pyrrhic. Scans revealed the probes had mapped Lunara's defenses, transmitting data to the main fleet. Drama swelled in the war room debrief. They know our weaknesses now, Alara thundered. Kai, drawing on his ancient lineage, interfaced with a vault artifact, a crystalline console that responded to his touch, unfolding hidden strategies. We counter with misdirection, fake shield frequencies to lure them in. But awkwardness arose when the console glitched, projecting holographic echoes of ancient memories, ethereal figures debating galaxy seeding, one resembling Key uncannily. The room fell silent, stares turning to him. Ah, family reunion. He joked weakly, diffusing the unease with humor, though Lyra's hand trembled in his, the bond revealing her awe-struck turmoil. The night deepened with personal reckonings. In their chambers, Lyra paced, her gown swirling around her sensual form, pale skin aglow under moonbeams. This lineage, it makes you more than human, more than us. Her voice held dramatic weight, fear of inadequacy surfacing. Kai pulled her close, it makes me yours, sauce stains and all. She laughed through tears, the humor bridging the gap, leading to a tender embrace that melted into passion. Their bodies entwined, the bond amplifying every touch, but awkward interruptions came via a calm alert Thorn requesting Kai's presence for a lineage rite. They disentangled hastily, Lyra muttering, his timing rivals mother's. Kai kissed her quickly to be continued. The rite in the vault was a dramatic affair, elders chanting around a glowing pool, sentinels adding harmonic drones. Kai immersed a hand, visions flooding him, ancients fleeing void cataclysms, seeding earth with hope. But humor snuck in when a vision showed an ancient fumbling a device, causing a comedic cascade of stars. Even gods have off days, Chi quipped, earning stern looks but lightening the solemnity. Emerging empowered, he returned to Lyra, sharing the visions, their conversation weaving drama with levity. Dawn brought launch preparations, ships humming to life. Drama peaked as farewells echoed, pups clinging to warriors, Alara embracing Lyra with whispered warnings. Kai felt the weight, but Lyra's hand in his steadied him. An awkward moment arose when a sentinel gifted him a heritage cloak, a flowing garment that clashed hilariously with his suit. Thanks, I'll wear it to formal void dinners, he said, draping it comically. Laughter rippled, easing the tension. Boarding the lead vessel, a sleek fusion of Luperi craftsmanship and Veil tech, they lifted off, Lunara shrinking below. The bond pulsed with shared resolve, but doubt lingered. Earth awaited, ruins hiding the core, void fleets in pursuit. Drama hung in the void, awkward alliances tested, humor a fragile thread holding them together as stars streaked by. En route, training sessions heightened the stakes, sparring in zero-grav bays, Kai's ancient reflexes outpacing Luperi, but awkward slips occurred like Thorn accidentally activating a gravity flux, sending everyone tumbling. Ancient grace indeed, Thorn grumbled, but Kai's laugh bonded the crew. Lyra watched proudly, her curves accentuated in her flight gear, stealing moments for kisses that promised survival. A hyperspace anomaly jolted them, heightening drama. Void scouts ambushing mid-jump. Alarms blared, Kai at the helm, weaving through rifts. Hold on, he shouted, Lyra manning weapons, blasts lighting the void. They escaped, but damage forced a detour to a nebula outpost, awkward negotiations with neutral aliens ensuing. We come in peace mostly, Chi joked, bartering for repairs with humor that won them over. Repaired, they pressed on, Earth's coordinates looming. Drama built with intercepted void chatter, the air returns capture the bridge alive. Lyra's fear spiked through the bond, but Ki reassured, they'll have to catch us first, and I run fast in sauce-stained boots. Her smile was a beacon, humor defying the darkness. As Earth emerged a scarred orb of ruins and storms, the final approach turned dramatic, harvesters swarming like locusts. Kai activated the core's beacon, his blood keying it awake, but void forces closed in. Awkwardly, a harvester's tentacle grazed their ship, spinning them. Thorn yelling, not the time for dances. Kai stabilized, firing countermeasures, humor lost in the fray. Landing amid crumbling megastructures, the team advanced, ruins whispering ancient secrets. Drama crested as void troops ambushed, claws and lasers clashing. Kai and Lyra fought back-to-back, bond guiding strikes, but a elite void commander targeted him. The lost seed, yours is the power we crave. Pinned, Kai quipped, crave this, unleashing a veil surge that repelled it. Deeper into the ruins, they found the core chamber sealed by ancient puzzles. Kai solved them instinctively, but awkwardness hit when a holographic guardian scanned him. Identity confirmed, welcome, progeny. But your mate unverified. Lyra growled, verify this, slashing a probing drone. Laughter echoed as the seal opened, humor triumphing. The core awakened, a pulsating nexus of energy, but void breached the chamber, drama exploding in a final stand. Allies fell back, K channeling the core's power, bond with Lyra amplifying it to cosmic levels. Together, she whispered, their hands joined, unleashing a wave that shattered the assault. As dust settled, the core secured, they signaled the fleet. Earth reclaimed as a bastion, but the journey's scars deepened their bond. Awkward celebrations followed, Luperi howls mixing with sentinel chimes, Chi joking, Next quest vacation planet, no voids allowed. Lyra pulled him close, as long as it's with you, my sticky star. Yet, in victory's glow, new horizons beckoned galaxies to mend, alliances to forge. The drama of their saga continued, laced with humor and heart as they soared homeward. The fleet's arrival painted Earth's scarred skies with streaks of silver and light, sentinel vessels descending like guardian angels to reinforce the reclaimed bastion. Ruins that had once whispered of humanity's fall now hummed with renewed purpose, the core's energy pulsing through ancient megastructures, mending cracks in the earth and igniting long-dormant shields that bloomed like ethereal domes against the storm-ravaged atmosphere. Kai stood atop a crumbling tower, wind whipping through his hair, the veil-enhanced suit still bearing faint stains from Lunara's feasts, a quirky reminder of the path that led here. Lyra leaned against him, her white hair dancing in the breeze, her curvaceous form a steady presence amid the chaos of victory. The bond between them thrummed with a quiet triumph, her emotions weaving into his relief like a soft rain, love like a steady flame, and a subtle undercurrent of wonder at what they'd achieved together. Allied forces swarmed the site, Lupari warriors bounding across debris with joyful howls, sentinels deploying repair drones that whirred like diligent insects, weaving energy webs to stabilize the core. Queen Alara's flagship touched down gracefully, her regal figure emerging to embrace Lyra, golden-streaked fur catching the sun's rays. "You have bridged worlds, daughter," she said, her voice rich with pride, then turned to Kai with a nod that carried the weight of acceptance. "And you, Kalar ancient blood or human heart, you have earned your place among the stars." Thorn, ever the gruff elder, clapped Kai on the shoulder a bit too hard, his muzzle twisting into what passed for a smile. "Not bad for a sauce-stained outsider. Perhaps the prophecies got one right." Kai grinned, rubbing his arm. "High praise from you, Thorn. Next time, let's skip the voids and stick to feasts." Celebrations unfolded in the shadow of the core, a makeshift gathering amid the ruins, Lupari sharing hunts with sentinel energy orbs that floated like festive lanterns, humans from scattered survivor enclaves emerging wide-eyed to join the fray. Earth's remnants, hardy souls who'd eked out lives in the wreckage, stared in awe at the wolf like aliens and glowing guardians, but stories flowed like wine, bridging gaps with tales of resilience. Kai found himself at the center, recounting the crash on Lunara, the blood donation that sparked it all, his voice carrying the emotional depth of a man who'd found home in the unexpected. Lyra added her growls and gestures, the bond translating her words seamlessly, painting vivid pictures of their battles and stolen moments. Laughter echoed when Kai mimed the awkward sauce spill, turning it into a legend of the sticky star who conquered empires, easing any lingering tensions with humor that felt like a warm embrace. As night fell, Earth storms cleared for the first time in generations, stars piercing the veil like diamonds on black velvet. Kai and Lyra slipped away from the revelry, wandering through quiet corridors of the revived megastructure, hand in hand. The core's gentle hum resonated with Kai's ancient blood, whispers of the ancients fading into background harmony rather than overwhelming echoes. "It's strange," he murmured, pulling her close, his fingers tracing the small pointed ears that twitched at his touch. "I came here as Kai, a lone warrior running from nothing, and now Kalar, bridge of worlds. But with you, it all makes sense." Lyra's amber eyes softened, her pale skin glowing faintly under the structure's lights, her body pressing against his in that familiar, magnetic way. "Names are but echoes," she replied, her voice a melodic growl. "You are my bondmate, my light in the void. Ancient or not, our story is ours." They found a secluded overlook, a balcony jutting over a valley where bioluminescent flora stirred by the core began to bloom, casting the landscape in hues of emerald and sapphire. There, under the unfamiliar yet comforting canopy of Earth's night sky, they surrendered to the moment. Lyra's gown slipped away like a whisper, revealing the elegant curves that had captivated him from the start, her form a masterpiece of strength and grace. Kai's hands explored with reverence, the bond amplifying every sensation, the warmth of her skin, the hitch in her breath, the way her hips arched into his touch. Their lovemaking was a culmination, slow and profound, bodies moving in a rhythm that echoed the galaxy's pulse-tender kisses along her neck, fingers entwining as they merged, waves of pleasure building to peaks that left them breathless, souls intertwined as deeply as their flesh. In the afterglow they lay entwined, staring at the stars. "What now?" Lyra asked softly, her head on his chest, white hair fanned across him like a silken veil. Kai traced patterns on her back, feeling the subtle rise and fall of her breathing. "We build," he said, emotion thickening his voice. "Lunara and Earth connected through the veil. Alliances that span galaxies, Pax and humans standing together against whatever shadows remain." She nodded, her small ears perking with quiet resolve. "And us? Our own horizon?" He smiled, pulling her closer. "Endless adventures, but with more quiet nights like this. No more voids chasing us unless we choose the chase." Days blended into weeks as the reclamation took hold. Sentinel tech revived Earth's ecosystems, Lupari instincts guided hunts to sustain the growing communities, and Kai's ancient knowledge unlocked archives that rewrote histories proving humanity's roots in the stars, not isolation. Scattered colonies across the galaxy responded to the Core's beacon, ships arriving with pilgrims and warriors, forging a new federation where differences became strengths. Queen Elara stepped back, naming Lyra and Kai as stewards of this bridge, their bond a symbol of unity. Thorn, in a rare moment of softness, gifted them a talisman from Lunara's depths, grumbling, "For the sticky star and his wolf queen, may your pups be less clumsy." Humor laced their new life awkward cultural clashes, like Lupari trying human coffee and howling at its bitterness, or sentinels glitching during pack dances. But beneath it, emotion ran deep, tears at memorials for the fallen, joy at first hybrid births, wonder at world's healing. Kai and Lyra's love evolved, from passionate sparks to a steady flame, stolen moments amid duties turning into shared dreams. One evening, atop the same tower where victory dawned, Lyra placed his hand on her abdomen, her eyes shining. "A new bridge grows," she whispered, the bond flooding him with her joy and his own overwhelming awe. He knelt, kissing her there, tears mingling with laughter. "Our story continues, then with a little one to teach about sauce stains and star-fallen heroes." Years passed in the blink of cosmic time, the Federation thriving under their guidance. Kai, ever the warrior at heart, led exploratory fleets to mend other seeded worlds, Lyra by his side, their child a blend of human resilience and Lupari grace growing into a symbol of hope. The void's remnants scattered, no match for united stars. In quiet reflections, Kai often thought back to that fateful crash, the blood donation that forged unbreakable ties. It wasn't destiny alone, it was choice, compassion, love that conquered empires. And so, in the vast tapestry of the galaxy, their saga became legend, a tale of a human veteran who gave his blood to save a wolf queen's daughter, only to find himself king of hearts and stars. Humanity's compassion, indeed, proved the mightiest force, echoing through eternity, bonds forged in blood, strengthened in battle, eternal in love. As they watched sunsets on reclaimed worlds, hand in hand, the universe whispered its approval, horizons endless, stories forever unfolding.